Assassin's Creed is the latest film from Justin Kurzel, who of course directed Macbeth and the perennial Netflix Q filler The Snowtown Murders. And, it's we have this long history of Hollywood taking directors who went from small indie to kind of, bigger budget, but still kind of art house film. And then finally was the studios just say, hey, guy, you directed some stuff that people that are, fucking snobs like. Maybe you'd like to direct our latest action franchise blockbuster thing. And of course, that director says yes because, food is great. So, here we have Justin Kurzel's Assassin's Creed, which is a movie that was made. So, what is Assassin's Creed about? That's a very good question, noble viewer. Thank you very much for asking it. Assassin's Creed, based, of course, on the hit video game franchise Assassin's Creed, is about a man who, played by Michael Fassbender, who has been convicted of a murder. He is sentenced to death. He is injected. He goes through the whole process, and then he wakes up, and there's Marion Cotillard, a scientist who has saved his life and is brought into this research facility in Madrid. And they are going to hook him up to this machine called the Animus, send him back in time, his brain back in time, and put his mind into his ancestor, who was also a murderer, an assassin, in fact, with a creed. And he is going to experience his ancestors fight against the Knights Templar, and they're going to find a MacGuffin and then revolt. And that is the story of Assassin's Creed. It is not nearly as complicated as most people would make you think, or as complicated as, in fact, the film would make you think. That's what I really got from this movie, is that it really feels like it's this kind of it's bigger than it really is. And that's too bad, because it's a fun concept. This is a franchise that is predicated on people's love of flippy shit, and here we have a film that is almost completely devoid of flippy shit, which boggles my mind. It really does. It boggles my mind. This is a boring slug of a movie, and I'm surprised by that. Like, I expected some dumb pseudoscience. I expected to not particularly necessarily care about the plot as much as I might feel about the action. But by the same token, I was like, okay, well, it has an artsy director, has Michael Fassbender producing. He seems like a pretty cool dude. Maybe it'll be pretty deep. And I didn't get either of that, but the film, I think, thought that it was giving me that. And what I mean by that is, while a lot of people will complain about it being boring, people will complain about the action scenes being choppy and hard to follow and very rare, the biggest problem I had with this movie is that it is a faux intellectual film. And what I mean by that is, you have this film that wants to bring up these what it feels to be, important ideas, and then it just kind of farts along and acts like that high school kid. That kid in high school who had like some of the hair going over his eye, and he brings up like Molière and shit, and gets all the girls because he's kind of cute and dark and daring, and he really he gets it, man. He really gets it, yo. Free will is important. You can't just get rid of people's aggression, man. And that's what the film feels like in its message, which isn't good when most of the movie is about the message. It's a problem. So here we have a blockbuster that's trying to be an art film, and that already is just grounds for trouble. And I'll give it this: when they go back to Spain in the 1500, 1400, way back Spain, when they go back to way back Spain, and you see his ancestor, and he's kicking ass and murdering folks and saving a kid and going after the MacGuffin. It's really fun. Like, there's some really fun stuff in there. There's a fight scene in, I guess it was supposed to be like a like little house of worship or something. There's like pools of water and stuff. I couldn't really tell what it was supposed to be. Either way, there's this really cool fight that's really good and really fun. It's a little choppy on the editing side, but it's cool. The costuming's great. The atmosphere is great. It works really well. And if this movie was predominantly that, I think I would come out saying, oh, that's a pretty good movie. Unfortunately, it's not. There's like, I don't know, like it felt like 15 minutes tops. It might have been more, but it felt like 15 minutes of this 2 hour and 20-minute movie was spent in ancient Spain. And instead, what we get is just a whole lot of present-day bullshit in this research facility. All the characters suck. None of them are interesting. And they're either stock characters or they just have no real creative influence behind them. There's only so many ways I can say this isn't a good movie. There's two heroes here. One is Jed Kurzel, who he was the composer for the film, has a great score, and it belongs in another movie because it's just phenomenal. If you can, check it out. I don't know if it's on Spotify or anything, but find it and give it a listen. It's great. And then the production design by Andy Nicholson. He does a great job with production design on the Spain bits. And even, I will say, the facility is pretty cool. It's just what happens in the facility is kind of boring. So all the production design is great. Sammy Sheldon does great work with the costuming. I actually, I did an interview for DragonCon TV. I don't remember the guy's name, but he was given close-up photos of the costuming from the film, was able to make his own costume for a competition at DragonCon. I think he got to go to a premiere or something as well. But he was really great. He won that costume contest, or at least he won like one of the major categories. And that costuming, like, it's amazing. It is amazing costuming in the Spain bits. It's, I just wish this movie was more about the Spain bits, because it's really good stuff when you get there, but it's so secondary. And the fact that it's all about finding this bullshit MacGuffin that I know is from the games, the Apple, but it's so boring and it doesn't make any sense. I've watched people play the games. I've never played it myself. Maybe I would appreciate it more if I was one of those gamers who enjoyed it. But it's just not a fun movie. It's not a smart movie. And it's boring. It's well shot, but it's boring. And it's terribly uninteresting, with one of the most anticlimactic third acts I've ever seen in a film. I feel weird giving this 2 stars out of 5, but that's what I give it. I give it 2 stars out of 5. It's not good. If you're a fan of the games, you might find some enjoyment of it. There is this great moment where he's kind of looking at various past selves. And it's all, in my head, in my very, very negative mindset at this point, I was just like, oh, look, all those sequels that'll never fucking happen. And, if it's your thing, if you love Assassin's Creed, you might like it. But as someone who dislikes a good movie, I can't recommend this. This is horseshit. So, that's Assassin's Creed. Another addition to the big old list of video game adaptations that just kind of sucked. It looks like Silent Hill is going to keep its place at the top of the heap for a little while longer. So, if you like my review and don't hate the fact that I fucking shit all over this movie, you can follow me on Twitter at Michael Keane, and subscribe to my YouTube page and all that shit. Enjoy the movies. Merry Christmas. All that crap. I'm gonna go wash the taste of this movie out of my mouth. Goodbye.